Our next grantee is Catholic Family Center. Probably needs no introduction. We've funded them twice before, an old friend. And this is a job readiness program, the Catholic Family, Healthy Sisters Soup and Bean Works. You probably know them, you've probably seen their products. They sell it healthy soups and chilies and Wegmans and Parkley. This program provides job skills and will provide them to 30 at-risk women who are in recovery from substance abuse and or poverty. Now let me put this into context for you. Each year, Catholic Families has at least 400 women in their rehabilitation programs, many of whom would love to take advantage of a program like this. The need is huge. The availability of programs to address this population is low. So the women come into the program and they start at the beginning because 85% of them have very few job skills. Most of them lack the basics, and that's where they start. They start with, you need to show up. You need to get here. You need to be on time. You need to dress appropriately. Things that we just learned along the way. I remember when I cut off my long hair and wore long skirts instead of short ones. You get it. Some of the women don't get it, and so this program addresses those issues. When that is accomplished, they go on to higher level skills, and then they begin working over that 4 to 6 month period. They begin working on decision making, communication skills, teamwork, how to work together to accomplish objectives, not just individually. Public presentation. I first ran into Healthy Sisters at Wegmans with a beautiful woman who had that packaged soup, and I talked to her for at least 10 minutes. She sold me. I bought it. It's terrific. This is a program that has been evolving. We have been watching them over the years. Let me tell you what's happened. They used to be housed in a basement in Cornhill, one little dark room, and they did it all there. 3 years ago, a woman who owned a business on Lyle Ave gave them, or at a very nominal fee, a workspace about the size of this room. So they had room for their equipment. They had room to have a breakout room. They could sit and talk and do business planning. All the things that they need to do to grow the business, because that's what this model is. They are growing to a self-sustaining organization that they can plow their profits back in, so they do not need to do fundraising. The wonderful thing about this is they've also availed themselves of resources in this community. So they pulled in executives from Kodak, from Xerox, professors and students from RIT, and they helped them work on improving their packaging, their marketing, and today, in fact, not today, but now, they are working with a Xerox loaned executive who is helping them track their profits by product line. The women are involved in all of this. Some less, some really involved. And so it is a growing experience for them in a very real sense as to how a business operates. How have they done? Well, last year, they served 32 women, and 90% of the women went on to gainful employment or return to school. So we are very happy to share this $10,000 grant with Catholic. Our next grant goes to Empire Justice Center, to the Cash Coach program. Empire Justice, they provide legal services to poor folks, and their Cash program is there to do free income tax preparation. Last year they served over 12,000 poor Monroe County residents, most of whom are women, head of household, earn less than $20,000. The main impetus for this program was to help women, all people, but in our case, our interest area of women, recover their earned income tax credit, which, by the way, is not a small amount of money. If you're making $20,000 and earned income tax credit this last year was almost $6,000 for a mom with 3 kids, that is a lot of money. And so The cash program was seeing women who had very low financial skills not being able to manage that return, that amount of money that they then had to plan for and use. So the coach program was born, and that is a program that does provide coaching and financial literacy for 30 low-income women who are single parents, head of household, and who are willing to select into a full 9-month program where they work one-on-one with a financial coach. Again, all volunteer coaches. And so over the summer, Cash recruits and trains financial coaches. In the fall, they match them up with a client, and that team works together for 9 months. The first thing they do is look at the woman's entire picture, which in many cases is rather bleak. They set goals. They work through the process of a budget. What's realistic for you? How do you determine and differentiate for women in the program? How do you determine between wants and needs? Are you spending more money on what you want but don't really need? And how do you reverse that and create really strong daily financial habits to improve your life? They also then move on to credit rating, cleaning that up. Many of the women, first of all, have very bad credit and have never even looked at their credit rating. The reason many of the women, by the way, have bad credit is because many of them are involved with predatory lending practices. So that when they reach Wednesday and they aren't getting their paycheck until Monday, they go down to the corner and use a payday lender. Now, I'm not going to get into this because I could go for a long time about this. I want you to go home and Google predatory lending and take a look at what that translates to with regard to annual interest rates for poor people. It varies them. So they look at the credit rating, they help the woman clean it up. They negotiate lower payments. They negotiate a calendar of payments. And the focus for the women, the goals really focus on savings and debt reduction to achieve long-term goals that include, and I attended one of the graduations a couple of years ago, and indeed heard from a woman client who had just been approved for her first mortgage, something she never thought would happen. In addition to the coaching, they attend 5 presentations with bankers, attorneys, financial service people, and so to the Cash Coach program, we say bravo. Our next grant goes to the Judicial Process Commission. That's always hard for me. Judicial Process Commission, the Women's Legal Action Project. This is a relative newcomer to us. We funded them last year. We're choosing to continue this year. This is a remarkable organization. They provide services to people who have been impacted by the criminal justice system. And last year they provided direct services to over 1,100 ex-offenders returning to Rochester. That, by the way, is only 16% of the number of ex-offenders who return to this city every year. And 35% of them are women. We were blown away by what they do with so little. They operate on a shoestring. Why? They have to raise money. Funding streams, as we acknowledge, have been cut. They have to raise money to support the services. Guess what? This is not a very popular population. Donors don't flock. Don't flock to provide money to serve ex-offenders. And so we are one of their major funders and thrilled to do that. This is a project that will reduce or remove barriers to employment for 85 women ex-offenders who are employed or ready to be employed. All the women who are accepted into the program are 18. They are low risk for offending. They have housing, and they have had at least 2 years of job experience. So they are relatively stable as a population. We had, the grant committee, the steering committee, really didn't have much of an appreciation of just how difficult. I mean, I don't sit down and say, how difficult would it be for a person who has a record to get a job? I know it's hard. You want to know how hard it is? There was a survey done very recently, and it showed that employers in New York State, 2/3 of the employers responded they would not hire a person with a record. When a person pays their debt, returns to their community, what really happens, in all honesty, is they continue to pay that debt. It isn't wiped. It stays with them. And so this program helps women deal with that. They educate them regarding their employment rights, but they quickly move to a very concrete thing that is provided, which is reviewing their rap sheet. A rap sheet is the history of criminal activity, and it is the document that is provided to people who are to organizations doing background checks. So an employer, a landlord can get hold of this. What's remarkable is that these rap sheets are full of errors, are full of inconsistencies. One of the most common things is that a woman has been charged with something that has been reduced to a misdemeanor. It doesn't reflect that on their rap sheet. And so if that document goes out, the history is not correct. They clean this up. It's an arduous task. They work through all of the records of 85 women and then start the process of vetting it through a system, the criminal justice system, which, to tell you the truth, is a rather unfriendly system to become acquainted with. Yes, indeed. An important part of the program is obtaining certificates of relief for at least 30 women. What does that mean? It means that once that file is cleaned up, once they have a real case to present, a clean case, they take it to a judge, and he or she reviews it, and depending upon their review of that, they will issue a certificate of release, which essentially is a letter that says, from the judicial standpoint, this is a woman who is a good risk for employment and is a low risk for recidivism. So it helps the woman in her attempt to find employment. They also provide legal counsel for women who are involved in real discrimination in the job place, as well as referring women to support services. How has this organization that operates on a shoestring, how did they do last year, our first year with them? Well, when we checked in with them recently, they provided service this past year to 100 women, well exceeding the objective. And when we checked in January, and we'll get an update on this when we get final year-end stats back, in January they had obtained 8 certificates of relief in hand, 8 more were pending, and 41 were in the works. So here is an organization that does so much with very little. They open doors for women who do not have a voice, and we are thrilled to give them $20,000 to support.